Clark is a special guy, you know. Many of the things that separate him from other, teenagers are things that have to do with visual effects because he has superpowers. So it's like any visual effect, you're always in an area between what's absolutely real and, pushing the envelope of reality, because if it were really easy to do in reality, you just turn on the camera. So in some case, we're always creating reality and expanding on it.
It's pretty impressive what they're able to do, thanks to computers and the state of film technology today. Stuff that would have taken us days and weeks to do in the 70s, they can now do on a weekly TV show. So it gives it a lot more production value and inventiveness than I thought I was going to see when I first heard about the series.
The visual effects were very important to us in the series, and we fought for a rather sizable visual effects budget because, sort of in a post-Matrix world where you can see Clark moving faster than a speeding bullet, we wanted to be able to do that. And again, the last exposure you'd had to Superman, it was 1978, where that was state-of-the-art. I mean, the tagline was, you will believe a man can fly. And you did. But, we wanted X-ray vision to be X-ray vision and not see-through vision.
Which is really curious. You've never seen that before.
You've actually never seen X-ray vision. You always see, craggly holes see through a wall. It's not X-ray at all. That's see-through. In season 2, we introduced heat vision, and we didn't want red beams coming out of the eyes. We wanted it to be more sort of shimmering heat. And the fact that you have all these great tools and the ability to now incorporate them into a weekly television show.
It's still a big challenge to get those done in time.
Yeah.
We are always under the gun with visual effects, and the guys do a fantastic job putting them together. They work all hours of the night.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't see the final thing till they're on the air.
Yeah, they're just dropping shots in the day of.
Yeah, the day of.
It really is amazing what they can do in a matter of days.
Yeah. Definitely some of the more challenging episodes or sequences, we try to get a head start on that and do some R&D, research and development, to figure out ways to, pull off a shot, to make a shot work, and to raise the bar a little bit for what visual effects is doing for television.
We try to, in every show, come up with at least one thing that we could say, wow, that'd be cool. If you could do that, that would be cool. And then the challenge becomes, can we do it?
I'm present up in Vancouver while the material is being shot, and my job when I'm there is just to make sure that everything is done in the most efficient way possible, that we get the film elements that we need to produce the effects efficiently. Then the other part of my job is just to creatively set up the shots with the director. Maybe I can suggest a camera angle that'll either save time and money, or a camera angle that will enhance the resulting effects.
When the show is put together, and we're happy with the construction of the show, Matt and his guys come over, and we will go through each of the CGI sequences. We have a budget in front of us. We know what was budgeted, and my job is to communicate to them, A, what's missing from the sequence, and B, what I desperately want to be in the sequence. It's my job to articulate it, and it's their job to understand it and be able to make it come to fruition, and it's much harder than you might think.
In this sequence here, there's a lot of storytelling that we have to do.
You try to break it up so that, conceptually you start out with the concept, the ideas, and then from there you move on to the animatic stage. You work out all the timings and the shot, and then from there you're building rough models, rough textures, and you're doing rough compositing of Clark to see what he looks like in that environment. So it really just goes through stages, and a stage might be 2 days to a week per stage, depending on how fast and how complex the material is.
First of all, we show the Daily Planet. And of course, there is no Daily Planet building, so we had to computer generate the top of the Daily Planet building, complete with a globe. Then what we call hook it up to a scene of Clark walking on the roof of the building. Now, he's going to jump across the building.
Here's some of the original elements that were shot. Clark on green screen. All the rigging had to be removed, and we composite him over the background. There's a mat and some of the 3D elements being built to show traffic, volumetrics, pieces of buildings.
So you can see we generated the entire city using a combination of computer-generated buildings and photographs of real buildings and running photography of real streets and it's all kind of assembled together. But by building the entire city, it means we can fly the camera around at any place we want to, which is what we need to be able to do. We do have this tornado, which is like imperiling our characters and forcing Clark to reveal some of his powers in an effort to save Lana. So we had to get them in some serious jeopardy. One of the things we do to move along this process is to pre-visualize the shots.
We really said this is about the story and about how we make this read as a very violent story.
So we pre-visualized a truck spinning around, and when we got a move that we liked, that drove the process of shooting the elements on stage. The elements on stage got shot. They were, of course, slightly different because they always are, and then it comes back here, and John has to track onto the actual element as opposed to the pre-visualized element and rebuild the computer-generated truck around the chassis that they were lying in. Then, in the storm, we pull the pieces apart, and there they are in the howling wind.
Here you can see what was actually shot. They had this small part of the cab, and there's Lana and Clark, and they're against a green screen. This green square here is the actual footage that they shot, and everything around it is the 3D truck that we built around it.
Again, it's tying the fantastic to the real, and it's both the real that you see and the real on the stage that we can get done.
Clark, couldn't the boneyard visit have waited till after the rain stopped?
A shot that we'd always wanted to do that we did in Accelerate, which is you wanted to see somebody in super speed. So you usually just see the blur, but if you were in super speed, how would the rest of the world look? And I think we'd written that into 4 or 5 scripts.
Yes, and finally we got to do it.
Finally got to do it.
It'd always been too expensive.
Yeah,
so
it'd always been...
finally designed, not the whole episode, but this one sequence around the idea that the rain would basically freeze and Clark could super speed through the rain. It was a really cool sequence.
Where'd she go?
One of the things is, you know, we manipulate time a lot. We slow it down, we speed it up, and when we slow down time, because it's raining, all of a sudden the rainstorm stops. And it doesn't actually completely stop. If you look carefully, those raindrops continue to fall. The challenge in this kind of shot is, when it's shot, there's no rain, and the camera's just moving around through 3-dimensional space. And there's no real tracking information either. So we come back, take that shot into the computer, and the first thing we do is track the movement of the camera so we can reproduce the 3-dimensional world that they were standing in.
Tracker marks back help us to locate distances in Z so that we can place rain way in the background or rain hitting certain tombstones or the foreground rain because they're all going to be in different parallax of the camera.
So when Eli says tracking them in Z, he means distance from the camera. So it's like in high school geometry, you know, you have an X for horizontal and Y for vertical and Z is depth away from camera. That's what actually gives it that interesting texture because the stuff in the foreground moves much more quickly and the stuff farther away moves slowly and you feel like you're in the space. And then within that world, we start generating raindrops. First, we put in artificial rain so that we can stop it. So even the rain that's falling normally isn't real. We put that in. And then we stop it. And we're looking at each individual drop. The challenge there, which is also really fun, is that each one of these raindrops, it's like a lens that shows the background refracted through it, and it's a mirror that reflects the background behind the camera. So it's a lens, it's an object, and it's a mirror. And we have to have all 3 of those things accounted for.
I thought the rain sequence was spectacular. I thought that was the sort of the visual highlight, I thought, of year 2. And it worked dead into the story.
All the special effects in the world can fall extremely flat if you don't believe in the characters themselves. And so the best times that when we use them is when we're rooting for Clark, or Clark's in jeopardy, or someone that we know is and we love is in jeopardy, so that we have an emotional context for the effect. Many times, a lot of them have to do with simply, is this effect going to be seen by someone who then knows Clark's secret? Hopefully, our viewers are watching a television show and at the end turn it off and go, wow, you know what, I've never seen that before.
We're always looking for something that might take it to another level of reality or another level of audience involvement, another level of interest for for the viewers.
The whole thrust of the show is that, you know, Clark is coming of age, so there's always something new coming along in terms of a new power. In addition, the stuff that we've been doing for a while, we try and expand on that. So again, it's a balance thing, because we want to try and add something new, either a new way of showing it or a new wrinkle on how it manifests itself, but we still have to honor what was done before, so there's a certain continuity.